Good afternoon. So today we're going to have a look at our Comfrey tea, which means I did set up some Comfrey tea here, or Comfrey fertilizer, about 3 weeks ago, which is, somewhat the recommended amount of how long you should let it ferment. Depending on the length of fermentation, you need to dilute it less or more. The shorter the time, the less you need to dilute. You could keep it up for 6 weeks, but after 3 weeks or so, supposedly it's fine. I've never done it before. This is my first time. Apparently it's going to smell like hell. I haven't prepared anything. I'm just going to see what it's like. So we're going to do that. We're going to fill it into some bottles if we can manage. I don't really have a lot of things that will make that simple, because I don't intend to use it all today. It's also too late in the day. It's too warm still. So I'm going to start using some of that tomorrow. Plus I need to stagger it out. I'm a bit short on buckets. I can maybe make 2 at a time, but if they need to ferment for 3 weeks, then it's the waiting time really that's the issue here. So I want to be able to stagger it out so that I have something available at any time. I do also have worms for the worm pea and for the worm castings, and I've just recently created a second worm farm out of an old bathtub that I got from the neighbors, but it's not really producing yet like the original worm farm. And maybe we can just have a quick look, because I'm talking about it. It's all in the back. Keep it away from the house as much as possible, just to make sure that if there's any smell, and normally there isn't, that it doesn't affect the main property and the people that maybe are not so much into farming. So here's the setup. So this is the normal worm cafe, which at the time was a gift for my wife, and that one's functioning pretty okay. So it's producing not much, because at some point we neglected the worms. We didn't really feed them properly. A lot of them died, which means that they need to recover. Now we're much more into a routine of making sure they get what they need when they need it. Hello, Yuki. Yeah, I know. I need to spend time with you. And then here's the what is supposed to be our big worm farm. And all I did is I split some of the worm castings, which I checked still had worms in them, and put them in there, and then added some food, covered it up. I'm looking after them every week or so, but there's not really anything coming yet. It's going to be something working well for next year. For this year, it's the Comfrey tea, and it's also been a bit of a struggle, because effectively we only have one proper Comfrey plant going, but it turns out they get pretty big. So here's the beauty. All of this, so this is the Comfrey, and what we're after is the leaves, not even the stems. The leaves are what are going to create the fertilizer. It's got all the way, all of this is all one plant, which is pretty amazing, I must say. Nature is amazing as well, right? This cracked, and it's still somewhat connected, and it's still alive. And I think there's a Japanese beetle down there. Anyway, they're great attractors for pollinators. They're fantastic for so many things. It's amazing. You got to look them up. And I did collect hundreds of seeds of this single Comfrey plant, which I'm already trying to germinate. There's multiple ways of propagating them. You can propagate them from root cuttings and the crowns. You can, obviously they come back supposedly if you cut them, which makes sense, because if they come back from a root, they should come back from the plant that's still in the ground. Yeah, I think those. What else is there? I don't think there's anything else. So we do have like a small bed here, where we've got a lot of Swiss chard going, 2 varieties. This is the white one, and this is the red one, and in between we do have 1 or 2 Comfrey plants that this soil here is much worse. It's much more compacted. It didn't have a lot of nutrients added to it. It's very thin, shallow topsoil, or loose soil. I wouldn't even call anything here really topsoil, other than maybe some of the sections where I added some external soil at the very beginning, but it wasn't much. We just bought a couple of bags of what appeared to be like a compost. Shit, I just swallowed a fly. Protein's good. Ah, Jesus Christ, that was unnecessary. Yeah, Yuki, do you want to smell? Do you want to? Yuki has a very sensitive nose. He's our smeller. He does love to smell everything, and he's also a drooler. Don't really know what's going on, but as soon as he's on my lap, his mouth starts drooling, like he's, you know, he's excited, obviously. Ooh, that looks terrible. Like there's green goo at the top, which obviously are the leaves. And let's make use of our gardening tools. Yeah, I mean, it smells, but I've smelled worse. It's not so bad actually. Oh, now it's coming. Oh yeah. So what you are supposed to do here, this is beautiful, isn't it? It's interesting because this was pretty full with leaves. Now it smells like the Alps. I love the Alps. Pretty full with leaves, and if this is all that's left from those leaves, I'm pretty amazed, I must admit. Now I don't yet have my I was about to say selfie stick because I'm lacking the words available, so I could set myself up properly, but really it's probably not going to be so exciting. What I'm going to do next is I'm going to fill it into bottles and store it, and then tomorrow, yes Yuki, you don't like it? Ooh, it's strong. And tomorrow I'm going to reconvene and see see which plants I need to fertilize with that. I'm also going to start one new one. The procedure is really simple. You know, just throw some leaves in there, like fill the bucket if you can, if you have that much. Keep it down with some stones. The stones should still be in there, which means there should be some of this mush underneath the stones, which I should be finding as I empty this bucket gradually into the bottles. And then you just fill it up with water. You cover it up. Ideally put it in a sunny place, like I have, like one of the sunniest places almost, which gets sun more or less all day around. Just a tiny little bit of shade behind this tree at some point, but it's already afternoon. It's like 4:35. End of August, and I cover it up with this storage box, and then put some rocks on top so it doesn't blow away, and that the cats don't need to get into it or whatnot. And then it does ferment, and it's a beautiful black syrup almost. It seems to have quite a thickness almost to it. It feels heavy. I know it's probably just water, but it feels great. Looking forward to understand and see what this is going to do to our plants, as it's been described as one of these wonder weapons. Yeah, so that's then, and then you leave it for 3 weeks. And if you look it up at the details, you can leave it less long, you can leave it longer, and so on. There's a way to make like a concentrate which you can store longer, that I find quite interesting. However, I do think that if I keep it in water bottles with the closed lid in the dark, it should also keep for quite a bit. I mean, what's going to happen to it? It's going to ferment some more, and then okay, yeah, of course, if there's some bacteria in there which will die, which is actually a big part of the beneficial nutrients and process that it will add to wherever I put it. Yeah, okay, fair enough. But otherwise, all right. It's going to be hard to find out and test and try all that, but yeah, for now we'll just leave it here. It's not so bad. Like, it smells. If you've got a really sensitive nose, then it's fine, but it smells like farm. What do you expect?